I am your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. I've been following the US and Israeli war in Iran or with Iran. And what started the recent wave of attack against Iran was as a result of protests by Iranian citizens when their economy went down, and there were protests. Thousands of Iranians were gunned down in the streets of Tehran and several other cities. And one of the consequences of that is that Donald Trump issued an order that if more citizens are eliminated, that he will come to the aid of the Iranians. If you trace it backward, it stems from the 1979 revolution that brought in radical Islamic extremists that led to the establishment of Sharia law and the attempt to export this Sharia law to different parts of the world and to institute governance in some of these territories, usually by radical groups and radical Islamists. It is like what happened in the Ottoman Empire when for 500 years the Ottoman Empire was expanding its territory into other people's territories, like in Spain, until a man called Martel resisted them, defeated them. It's like they advanced through several countries up to Vienna and they were defeated. And there was one other battle where they lost woefully and they retreated. And after some time, the empire started to crumble. People started to revolt within the system, like the Janissaries, who demanded for for better pay, better positions. They got married, and then the Sultan at that time eliminated a lot of them when he shelled their barracks. So I want to look at the iron law of oligarchy and governance. The iron law of oligarchy was postulated by Robert Mitchell in 1911. He was a German-born Italian sociologist. And the iron law of oligarchy states that most sociological organizations, including political organizations, religious organizations, groups, will start with an utopian idea as if it is for the good of every person. But with time and the need to maintain the system and the passive nature of the majority, a few elites will be appointed to administer and to sustain the system. Those few elites will now become the oligarchy. They will corner a great percentage of the benefits, privileges, honor, and resources to themselves. And the majority will be passive and just be sustaining the oligarchy. I will need to define some forms of government. There is democracy. Democracy involves the government of the people, by the people, for the people. But is it really so? At a point, it becomes the government by a few over the majority, sometimes occasionally for the benefit of the majority. Even the benefit of the majority is for the benefit of the minority elite. And the elite tend to protect that class, make it difficult for people to come to join them. In systems like Nigeria, that's why to collect a form to contest as a governor in primaries alone is 100 million. And I know people who contested elections that are still owing. If you contest and you fail, you go into poverty. And there are restrictions, you have godfatherism and all that will want to filter those who come to join them at that level. I bought form for you, I bought form for you, I bought form for you, I bought form for you. Is the process of preventing those who are not in the good books of the elites from coming to join the elite class. And so that's even democracy for you. For you to join the Nigerian army, you will need a letter of recommendation from a major general, a colonel. How many of us have colonels from our families, even from our communities? For you to enter medical school, 7,000 people will apply for 100 positions in medical school. And the vice chancellor will bring his candidate, the king will bring his candidate, the senator, like that, like that. Like today, people like me will not have become a medical doctor. So democracy without social justice is not too different from the other forms of government I'm going to talk about. So we have defined the iron law of the oligarchy. Now we are looking at oligarchy itself. Oligarchy is the governance of a few over the majority for the benefit of the few. Imagine how much was budgeted to buy new cars in a state and how much was budgeted for education and health. Imagine what is budgeted for Aso Rock. Not in the time of Tinubu alone, right from time. And there was a time we were paying rent in Aso Rock and we didn't know who we were paying the rent to. So, even as we are in an oligarchic system, so to say. But oligarchy is for the few, when few people rule over the majority. Then you have the monarchy. The monarchy is the governance of one man over the majority of the people, over every person. Then autocracy is authoritative governance by few and usually very repressive over the majority. Then that brings me to the crux of this video. Theocracy. Theocracy is governance based on the theocratic books of religion. The people believe that they are ruling on behalf of God. No matter the religion, theocracy is oppressive, many times discriminatory against women, oftentimes only a few people determine the rules and the interpretation. I give you an example. If a woman commits adultery, in African traditional settings, she's made sometimes stripped naked, charcoal put on her body, ashes put on her body, and paraded around the town. But if the president general of the community steals, nothing happens to him. If a man steals, nothing happens to him. If people steal from the community fund, nothing happens to them. So I want to look at theocracy as it relates to the Bible. What I find and I fear about theocracy is that who interprets the mind of God? Who interprets the statutes? How can you use something that happened when I was not born, that I was not party to judge me, to administer me? And I was listening to somebody. I'm a clergyman, an ordained clergyman. I was listening to somebody. He said that how can we use rules set by people who were not present when they set the rules, and the benefit of obeying the rules can only be gotten after we have left this world, and there is nobody in many religions that have come back from that place to come and tell us what is there. Even Jesus, he died and resurrected. We are waiting for his second coming. And so there was this woman caught in adultery. No, let me quickly say this. Religion is a personal relationship with God. It should not be enforced form of governance of people. If you willingly join any religious organization, it is you that willingly join. It is you that willingly obeys. You should have the right and the privilege of disagreeing and leaving when you want to leave. But it is not even the case with Christianity. The woman that was caught in adultery in the New Testament, they were using theocratic rule to demand that she be stoned to death. And Jesus proved that they were all hypocritical and vengeful. Most very spiritual people are very wicked. They are very, very vengeful, very intolerant of people and their mistakes. I know a young man that stopped relating with me because something happened in my household to one of my children that he used his theocratic mind to interpret. I said, bust you, baby. So now God is merciful. The word mercy is from the Hebrew word hesed. That means God relates with you as if what happened previously that was wrong never happened. The next thing is that God is compassionate. He feels your pain. Say you don't have a high priest that has not passed through what you are passing through. He knows what you are passing through. And so he's able to make intercession on your behalf. He is holy. He hates evil. He hates injustice. He hates iniquity. He hates sin. He is just and he is faithful. Jesus, when they brought the woman to him, it was an attempt to tempt him. If he said they should stone the woman to death, they would say that he supports murder. Number two, if he says the woman should be set free, they will say that he supports adultery. So he decided to write down, please allow my mind to be speculative. Don't take me too seriously. I suspect he will have written, where is the man who committed adultery with her? Why did you bring only the woman? Two takes two to commit adultery. Who amongst you will not have slept with this woman if you were left alone with her and you are very definite you will not be caught? Wouldn't you sleep with her? I was discussing with one of my friends that even though I say um, I have not committed adultery since I got married 40 years back, you see, your mind is like a canoe that you are paddling to a distance. Water enters, you can't prevent it. And what you do is that you bail the water out. Thoughts cross through your mind, you bail the water out. You don't allow the thoughts to settle in your mind, because if you allow the water to settle in your mind, the water will sink the boat. It is not the water that is outside that sinks the boat. It is the water you are allowed to settle. Thoughts, a beautiful woman passes your front. A woman with water yash passes your front. A woman with water breast passes your front. Thoughts will cross your mind. If you dwell on it, then new imaginations will come in. It is the second look, the third look, and the continuous thought that leads to adultery or fornication. So you quickly bail it out. Thoughts cross through my mind. I hear voices, but I shut them up and I bail them from my mind. Now, I suspect that Jesus will have also written down that, do you know, if you look at this woman lustfully and you try to strip her naked with your eyes, that you have committed adultery? He will have asked, as he was writing, how many of you have experienced that in the synagogue when other women walk past you? How many of you will have experienced that when you had close proximity with females that are not your wives? Then he will have also written, if she were to be your only daughter, will you stone her to death? Then who amongst you has not sinned at all? Have we stoned you to death? And they all dropped their stones, starting from the oldest one, because his records, his file is so big since when he was a young person. There were things he did that the Pharisees and the Sadducees didn't know about. No, now, how many men were stoned to death in the Bible for committing adultery? Women and children were seen as possessions, and they were not numbered in biblical days. So a woman was seen as a possession of the husband that could be brought out to be stoned. Remember Tamar and Judah. Judah slept with a woman he thought was a prostitute. He made a pledge. And when he came back to redeem his pledge, he didn't see the woman. And the woman collected his signet, the string, and his walking stick. And Tamar was found to be 3 months pregnant. And Judah, let's stone her to death. And Tamar said, the person who owns these is the person that impregnated me. And Judah said, you are more righteous than me. And out of that relationship, the Messiah, it is that family that Joseph and Mary, who eventually gave birth to the Messiah, came from. So God is merciful. He is compassionate. Merciful means that he has a big wiper. He wipes the windscreen of your life so that you can see a future. Now, theocracy does not accept discernment. Any voices that are contrary to what they believe in. They are dealt with heavily. Wycliffe translated the Bible, and because he was close to politicians, they didn't do him anything. After 40 years, just translating Bible, either from Aramaic to Latin or to whatever, they were angry later, and they brought up his case after he had died, 40 years after he had died, and they took his skeleton and passed a sentence on him, guilty sentence. Took his skeleton after 40 years and burnt it as punishment and threw the ashes in the river Swift after 40 years. They threw it in the river so that he is not rapturable. They threw it in the river so that it cannot congeal somewhere. That's how wicked theocracy is. That's how wicked religious people are. Have you ever lived with a very religious person with a high, very sensitive spiritometer? Everything is demon, everything is sin, and they punish you heavily. They don't forgive, they don't have mercy. They are usually very cranky. Tyndale, that translated the New Testament into English so that people could read it, the elites were angry with him. Why did he make the Bible available to poor people? He was betrayed, he was tied to the stake and burnt. During the Inquisition, a lot of people who believe what we believe today as Christians were burnt in the stake. Some were thrown to animals. The person that said that the earth was round instead of being flat was dealt with severely. The father of the two boys, the Wright brothers, who invented the airplane, when a professor of physics told him that in a few years men will fly, he said, God forbid, only angels fly. But a few years later, his sons invented the airplane, even though it was bicycle that they used. That's how the mind of very religious people are, usually very calcified and monorailed. Remember slavery. Slavery was interpreted from the Bible. A lot of those who practiced slavery were church folks. One of the denominations I will not mention now had slaves. They had slaves. But it took somebody like William Wilberforce and others to move motion to end slavery. Now, I want to look at Islamic theocracy. There has been an agitation for Sharia, and usually those who advocate for things like Sharia and theocracy, they are usually not the very productive people. They are so concentrated on going to heaven because they are not contributing to what is happening in the world. They are not contributing to the betterment of society. Dangote is not interested in Sharia. Even if he is, he won't put it as a helmet, like as he does in his refinery. Look at President Tinubu. His wife is a pastor in the Redeem. You might not like her, but she's a pastor and she's a Christian. She could have said some things that I have disagreed with. But when somebody said they were going to deal with her because she was a Christian, I came out and spoke against that person and condemned that person. So Tinubu is marrying Remi Tinubu as a Christian. They don't quarrel. Among the Yorubas who are very enlightened and elitist, you can see in a household, Muslims, Christians, they don't fight. It is in underdeveloped, poverty, disease-stricken environments that people carry religion on their heads, thinking that they will receive a reward after they have died. When you see a Christian always talking about end times, end times, end times, he's not doing any tangible thing in life. If he was very busy, as Christ, the epistles encouraged us not to be looking at time and seasons and concentrate on productivity and serving God, you won't have end time, any small thing, end time. So, Islamic theocracy, the war in Iran, and the celebration of the elimination of the supreme leader by Iranians within Iran and all over the world shows that theocracy eventually fails. People eventually get dissatisfied with theocracy. Now, using rules that were enacted, as I said earlier on, years back, when Prophet Muhammad was writing the Quran and the Hadith, peace be unto his name, using that to adjudicate in the 21st century, I believe that it's not fair on those born in the 21st century. I respect one thing with Muslims, particularly the very enlightened ones, is modesty. Modesty. I hate nudity and exhibitionism. But I hate when Islam is taken to the extreme and when the rights of people are not taken into consideration. Sharia was adopted by the radical Islamists who removed the Shah of Iran, who wanted a westernization of Persia, Iran, even though some people believe that he was too pro-Western and corrupt. And since 1979, draconian rules were put in place. Females were forced to wear hijab, just like in Afghanistan. You must not allow any strand of hair come out. There was a Kurdish lady that came visiting Tehran, and they said that her hijab was not the appropriate one. So who determines, who interprets the appropriate one? And you know, the Kurdish people all over the Middle East, in Iran, in Syria, in Turkey, have been advocating for independence. The colonial masters were extremely wicked to the Kurds. The Kurdish people were a big, or are a big population. They could form a country of their own. And the colonial masters, in their divide and rule wickedness, cut them into Syria, their minorities there, cut them into Iran, their minorities there, cut them into Iraq, their minorities there, cut them into Turkey. And they have been fighting all over the years to gain independence and some level of autonomy. And so this lady came visiting. I suspect that, knowing that she is a Kurd, a Kurdish person, there was the tendency to see her as an enemy or a spy and look for a reason. Oh, in several parts of Pakistan, in several parts of even Nigeria, in several parts of Afghanistan, Iran, somebody can just raise an alarm of blasphemy and you are stoned and burnt. Remember Deborah, and nothing will happen to the people. So she was arrested, traumatized, and eventually died in prison, and that led to massive protests in Iran at that time. Now, you must not do a selfie, even in your house, that shows your strands of hair. They will say that it is seductive, it is enticing, and you can have 70-something lashes of cane. Imagine lashing a woman 70-something strokes of the cane. In Afghanistan, women were not allowed to go to school. Things like football were banned. Cinemas were banned. Drama, theater banned. Artworks like the statues of Buddha in some parts of Afghanistan were shot with missiles, that pulled them down. The hypocrisy of theocracy is that the same people who were offsprings, the Taliban offsprings from and sponsored from Iran, the Ayatollah had an image, a statue molded in his resemblance that was pulled down recently. In Iraq, there were images of Saddam Hussein and all that were pulled down. And those are Islamic nations. So there is a lot of hypocrisy in Sharia law. Now, hugging is prohibited. You cannot be doing engagement party and then you are so excited that then you go and hug the girl you want to marry. If they see it, if they report you to the morality police, the Basij, they will deal with you. They will whip you and you'll be forced to apologize. Even a small girl that did one thing, picture or selfie, she was punished severely. You won't understand what I'm saying. A Nigerian university in the north, posted a circular that this is the fasting period, that females and males should not stand close to each other to discuss in the university campus because this period is holy. But they can fly together, they can fly planes together, they can sit in classrooms, they can enter buses, they can enter taxis. I detest religious hypocrisy. I detest theocracy, even though I am a clergyman. Talk whatever you want to say. Now you sabi. Now, any dissent is met with severe punishment, just like Christians, including hanging. There was some people who protested, who dissented. One of them was hanged with a crane so that he was dangling and the whole city could see. If not for Donald Trump, a lot of those who were protesting that were arrested by the Basij group, they were to be eliminated with firing squad. So you can't have dissent. Now, you can't protest. If you protest, they say you are speaking against God. Look at people who say they are ruling on behalf of God. You say you are supreme leader. God is the only supreme leader. It's idolatry. It's blasphemy. Now, you can't attend football matches. One girl dressed as a male to attend a football match that her favorite club was playing. She was arrested and dealt with severely. Now, in some countries, women can't even sing alone, like in Iran. A woman did a selfie of where she was singing. She was traced to her house and punished very severely and made to apologize to the public. A 13-year-old girl can be forced to be married by an old man. One of the governors that brought Sharia to Nigeria married a baby from Egypt. It's as if these people, una eye dey chook for woman, married a baby to his state as governor. Somebody carried a small girl Robogirl from Bayelsa to Kano. You like pedophilia? Would you allow that to be done to your daughters? And if you dare revolt as a young child, you're not given a chance to choose. Honor killing can take place by relatives against that young girl who does not have a right to choose. Now, no matter how it starts as if they want to serve God, it eventually ends up as an oligarchy. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been eliminated. It's as if his second son will soon take over. A group of people select their leaders. Even the presidency, if the council of wise people do not approve of that person, he can't be president. Your votes don't really count. Just like in Nigeria, where we say we are practicing democracy, your votes don't count. And so the iron law of oligarchy operates in every system of governance, but it is worse off in theocracy. I believe that Nigerian Muslims should be concentrating more on the challenges facing Muslims in this country, particularly in the northern part of the country, where out of school children very high, amajiri beggars in the streets, leprosy, homelessness, very primitive environments, open defecation, illiteracy. Those are the issues we should be concentrating on. Religion has never developed any nation. If not, the Vatican will be the most powerful nation in the world. Religion has never developed any nation. Religion is a personal thing between you and God. We should arrive at the rules that we want by legislative actions where the rules are debated and assented to. Even though crooks, when criminals make rules, they only make rules to favor themselves. Just like the Electoral Act that was hurriedly signed, because electronic transmission, if BVAS works, if IREV works very effectively, a lot of them will not be in the Senate, they will not be in the executive. If the judiciary works well, we won't be where we are. And so what we should be looking for is functional governance that has strong institutions that are respectful of our constitution. I give you a simple question. A man steals a goat and you cut off his hand. What of somebody who stole 80 billion in a relatively backward state? He's parading all over the place. He was even allowed to go to Mecca for pilgrimage. What of the ones that steal the wealth of your states in the north? How many of their hands have been cut off? It is you that will still bow down before them. It's you that will still do rankadede. Same thing in our churches. You will contribute to build the school, build the university. Your children cannot attend. And then you come and insult me and attack me that I am attacking God's generals. I slap you